change the wheel bearing on the front here. Now you pull this cap off. And you gotta get this cotter key out here. And you'll take this big nut off here. Pull your brakes off. Turn it sideways. Easier access. Pull your hub off. I'm going to be changing the tie rod in, so might as well take that off. Usually there's a cotter key there, but there's not one in there for some reason. And here's where a cotter key was supposed to go through, but there's a hole there. It must have broke off. And that's loose. I'll take my brake hose off so I can set it up out of place. Tip my hood up. Set this up so it isn't dangling by the hose. That's not good on them. Okay, axle shaft is loose. We need to take the cotter key out. The ball is right down here. The 2012, the wheel bearings have never been changed on it. I bought it used from somebody. So we got a big pry bar. We'll pry down on this at the same time. There. Just pops loose. Now you can check your bushings, see if them are all good. They are. Shake back and forth. I like it because there's grease certs, and you can keep it greased and they don't wear out fast. So now that's loose there. The bearing's going to be in here. So we'll take the shock loose and we'll be able to take it over on the bench. And work on it a little easier. Okay. I'll put this back on so I don't lose it. I'm going to take this over on the bench and I'm going to take the shock out of there just so I can clamp this in. I'm going to take the shock out and take these two bolts out. Do that on my bench so you can take and clamp this in a vise easier to drive your bearing out. I'll show that here in a little bit. I can clamp it in there. It doesn't have to be clamped real tight because you don't want to ruin this aluminum there. It's not. There's something to hold it. This spring is not under tension. Only time it's under tension is if you take this nut under here off, not the upper nut. So I just want to take, and it'll release a little bit. So see how it just released a little bit? That's just letting the tension on it. It's not under a lot of stress. So take these out. The only reason I'm doing this is so we can get that strut out of the way, make it easier to clamp this in my vise instead of having something so long in there. Okay, I'm going to just pull this out. It goes in through there and it'll seat in the bottom when we go to put it back in. But I have to get new shocks. I think I'm going to because these shocks are wore out. They push up and down easy. They don't have no resistance. So, really, they're pretty much blown out. Be expected on 2012. Okay, I'll reposition this. I'm going to change my ball joints too. They're wore out. I mean, they just flop. So, we'll be changing those too. I'll have to order those. I didn't happen to order any of those, so that'll be on a later video of putting the ball joints in, but I will show you how to put a bearing in. I did order those. So, I turn it over. There's a clean some of this dirt out. There's a snap ring in here. So clamp it in here. Like I say, it doesn't have to be clamped real tight just because I don't want to ruin the aluminum, crack it or anything. Put the screwdriver behind that one. Okay. Pry that out. We'll put a rag over so it doesn't pop up and hit us or something. And we'll just work it around. Just tap that around. I need to buy a good pair of snap rings. I have some, but they don't fit this snap ring. Okay. Now we'll flip it upside down because it comes out the other way. There's a little seating point right there. where it seats up against. So we'll have to drive it out the other way. We'll put it back in here. Upside down. And I'll put some penetrating oil in there to let it seep down in between. And then I'll take a socket, a big socket, heavy duty, and just drive her out. It might take quite a few slots. Should have probably cleaned this thing before I started doing this, but actually, I don't want that big of stuff. I was driving against the little rim there. That's not good. I need to put a smaller socket. Now it's going to come out. As you can see, it's starting to move now. Okay, move it up on my vise because the bottomed out. There, drove out. So, just to show you, I was driving against that. Right there, I had to get a smaller socket just so I was driving on the bearing. Not the, so I got a little bit smaller socket, so I was driving on the bearing instead of that. I would call it just the shoulder for the bearing to set on, and that's what it'll seat up against when you drive it back through the front. So now what I'll do is I'll put it in my parts washer, clean it up. Take some emery cloth, clean the inside of this up. We'll show you that here in a minute. I'm going to clean some of the years and years of crud off of it. It's not going to be spotless. I'll just take a wire wheel and clean it after, get most of the grime off. Ball joint out. Sprayed some penetrating oil in here, make sure all my, takes an Allen wrench. Got two screws in here to hold this plate on, that holds your ball joint in. It's pretty tight, so I'm hoping it doesn't snap it off. I'm going to tap on this at the same time I'm going to give it a little impact. The last thing I want to do is break it off. There, it broke loose. That little bit of tapping with a hammer acts as like an impact. And it helps vibrate that loose. There's a little rust in there. So I'll make sure this Allen wrench is seated in there good because we don't want to slip off and around it. So I'm going to do the same on this one. Keep steady pressure. Hold on. There, it broke loose. 90% of the time that works. Take your time and don't force stuff. That's when you break it. I'm not saying I couldn't have broke it, but it does have Loctite. I can see it on these screws that I'm taking out. It's a blue Loctite, which we'll stick some more back on it when we put it back in, just to keep them screws from backing out. You can see the blue Loctite on there. So, then we'll pull this plate off. Okay. So this isn't just going to pull out of there. We're going to have to most likely heat it up. So put this on there. I'll have to go over and get my nut that went on there. We'll get the castle nut and we'll put back on here. I'm going to try getting it out without heat, but might not be able to. I'll spray some penetrating oil on it. Hopefully it'll seep down in there a little bit. Now, I'll get my air chisel. It doesn't matter if we ruin the nut. Getting a new one anyway. We're going to try to air chisel against that just to vibrate it out of there. Doesn't look like it's moving, so I'm going to put some heat to it. I'm going to use my acetylene torch. I don't have a little propane torch, but you can use a propane torch. So we'll heat that up a little bit. Got a fire in there. There. Thaw it out. A little bit of heat around here, and then take an air chisel, probably the best, or a hammer and a chisel. Probably work great. Like I say, you can use a regular propane torch. You don't have to use a acetylene torch. That's what I have at my point in time right now. So that's what we use. And then we'll just clean this out right here, clean all the rust, emery cloth it. As you can see, there was rust in there. Like I say, 2012, it's bound to have rust and corrosion. So we'll just take a piece of emery cloth. You don't want to go for a long time on it. You'll, open up that hole. So it'll take your sanding on it a long time, but just kind of clean it up a little bit. Like I say, I don't have the wheel bearing or the ball joints right now, so won't be able to show you put them back in right now, but I can show you how to put the wheel bearing back in. I have to order the ball joint when that comes in. We'll have a video on that. And I cleaned it up. I mean, it's not spec shined or anything, but it's old. So Okay, I just pulled this out of the freezer. I put it in there for a few minutes, probably 15 minutes. This is still warm from when I heated it up, but I might just keep it warm. I put a little bit of heat on it from my heat gun. Because what it does, the heat expands the metal, the cold shrinks the metal. So you're heating this up, expanding this. This is getting cool and then shrinking down. So what we're hoping is put that in. I put a little oil in there too to help. And then we'll just take the dead blow hammer and we'll kind of get it started in there. Oh, got my buddies. And we'll get it started. Try to get it, tap around with it. And then this thing will quit falling out of there. And then we will take and get my big socket. And we're going through the front. Slowly tap. And it should start to go down. And if you have a press, you can press them in. But I don't have a press at this time. So it doesn't seem to be going in. So we might take it out, flip it up, and we'll put it in the freezer for a little longer, and I might heat it up for a little longer. So I don't want to take the big socket, I want just this little one. Shouldn't take much to come back out. Okay, back out. I'll take it and put it back in the freezer for a while. Alright, I think it's seated in there. We can take it out. We can look on the bottom. You'll be able to see if it's seated. Doesn't look like it's all the way. Give it a couple more taps. Okay. Okay. Like I say, I'm using needle nose. It seems to work good. Take a screwdriver and kind of tap around it, make sure that's seated in there. And then we'll look at, see if our height's all the same around there. And that'll tell you if it's in a groove. You can kind of start right here where it goes together. It looks like it's up a little bit. It looks like it's up a little bit there. So I might need to seat it a little bit more. Looking like it's seated now. We'll give it a couple extra taps just to make sure. Okay. And the bearing spins good. So, it's a sealed system. You'll be able to tell if it's always seated there. It looks like it is. much.